Hey, this is Don Allen, fishing guide on Lake Havasu. Um, we're working our way back to Lake Havasu. Lake Havasu is kind of my home waters, and I love it fishing there. One of the reasons we used to start October 1st, and there was a reason for that. The water temperatures had receded from the summertime 80-degree water temperatures down into more benign temperatures that stripers prefer. Stripers prefer 68 to 53. Now, in the summertime, those little fish are very, very tolerant of those high water temperatures, and they get up and they flourish in that water. And so when you're going out for stripers, you will get into those really what I call striper sprouts. They are just a little tiny, and they're active, and they're chasing, and they get all that. But as we move towards later fall, like in November when I'm starting, we'll start to see those temperatures fall out of those 80s more towards those benign temperatures. Remember, 68 is an extreme temperature. So I get even more excited when that water temperature gets to 65. So that means that the stripers who have been normally staying in the thermocline 25 to 35, 40 feet deep, that cooler water temperature is more benign, but they really don't have access to the shad down there. So they become, they actually starve a little bit. A lot of fish, I monitor the fishing reports on throughout the summer, and I'll see people who catch an occasional big one. Seen one the other day of 6.5 pounds and all this kind of stuff. Big old head and skinny old body, and really they're not the best table fare. They're basically starving, and so they eat themselves. But when that water temperature gets into 65 and that, they start operating up into the water column, and then they have access to shad. And so the shad will start to ball up, and then the stripers will start to push them to the top of the water, and then here comes the other partner in crime, the birds. And so the birds' boil season is very, very active and high adrenaline fishing, but that's the reason we push our start date back to November, is to get my clients away from those striper sprouts and into those Shad Bellies stripers that I call them. And when you start to see that they are feeding and they're feeding a lot, they just look healthy, they act healthy, and they're 10 times active. There's not much not to like about a striper during boil season. They hit hard, fight hard, and they're pretty good table fare versus the summertime when they're starving to death. So that's the reason we start early or late, and get us into those more benign, favorable conditions for bigger stripers to be more accessible and not be so stationary. One thing about those stationary schools, and you can go out there in October and stuff, and you'll find a school of 300 to 500. And they're pretty much sitting still. Well, they're conserving energy. In the fall, we have a very active season of jigging. And I'll talk to with you more about jigging later on when we get closer to starting. And jigging is important because there is another predator out there underneath those schools of 3 to 500, and it's a flathead catfish. And he's not there soaking up he is there to feed. And we love to target those big flathead catfish. Our biggest flathead catfish was 33 pounds last year. So underneath those schools of stationary young striper sprouts, there is something else, and it's very exciting for the clients to get on to them. And I'll talk more about jigging later on as we get closer to the season. Anyway, I'd love you to get a hold of me. Let's get you out there, and I'll show you my way of catching fish. 520-400-3216 or 888 520-290-2284. Again, 520-400-3216 or 888-290-2284. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.